All right, friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. It's been at least a few hours since I shared another video, and we're going to do so again today, continuing with our Javelin focused. And this episode is for you, Argyle. I've never done that before. Name a guy, crediting a guy with an episode. This has been a long-term supporter. And even though this first battle, we're not going to have any Javelin units, in this episode, we're going to try to help players destroy the enemy with Jav Cavalry, right? Jav Cav, as some people call it. Cavalry that throw a javelin, right? Part of our Javelin series includes those guys that are on horse, and there's 3 or 4 kingdoms that take real advantage of it. Now, to set a baseline here, let's just make a scenario up for this first fight. We'll say that you're in the early to mid game. You got an army of 250 troops. You got Imperials. You've been rolling around with your heavy cavalry, smashing bandits. What happens now when you face this army of equal quality Valandians and you're outnumbered by 60? We'll let your sergeants take charge of the first battle. And of course, you guys all know the results here. This is going to be infantry heavy army against our cavalry heavy army. What could go wrong, right? Well, frankly, everything could go wrong because infantry dominate cavalry and Bannerlord. Bannerlord, the biggest problem with the balance right now is pretty much everything dominates spear cavalry. So there's a monstrous charge and the enemy is destroyed. Oh no, wait, you got 6 kills. All the momentum is dead. They're shot to pieces by archers. The infantry do the rest. And admittedly, we're outnumbered here, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of results we can get with Jav Cavalry, and we'll use some sergeants in charge just to show you that the AI is actually a lot better with Jav Cav as well. Here we got destroyed, so you sent in your Imperial Cavalry and you got mangled. Let's switch this quickly to the Aserai, and I'll say this right here because some guys prefer this. If you're one of those guys that likes delegating or F1, F3, this might be your answer, right? Is to play units that have javelins. I think we're going to at least make this close and we may even win. We're going to use the exact same circumstances, the exact same amount of troops, right? In other words, we have the same amount of cavalry, same amount of infantry archers, and the same disadvantage in numbers, only we've given the AI sticks that they can throw, right? And of course, therein lies the rub. Right now in Bannerlord, this is version 1.31. The ranged units have clear superiority, right? Even though you could see we're badly outnumbered, here's why we're going to win, or at least it's going to be close. These javelins. Of course, I kind of know the results to this because I did a little bit of testing before I started this episode. I do a little bit of homework before I run these off. Some guys think I just make it up as I go, but I do my homework as well. 15,000 hours of playing, and maybe I've got 1,000 hours of testing beforehand. All right, so I'm not thrilled about the charge. I hated that. They charged right into the infantry, but now they're behind the enemy and they're chucking javelins all over the place. And at least it's close, although there's an awful lot of death. There's some green. It's certainly better than the spear cavalry because these guys are throwing javelins and they're accurate with javelins. With Bannerlord 1.3, one of the big changes. Oh shit. Suddenly there's a huge flush of green. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, the exact same circumstances, our Ferris here and our tier 3 tribal horsemen did serious work and mauled that force outnumbered. I mean, that was actually pretty impressive. So let's see here. Let's make it harder. Right? Let's make it 30, 140. This will be 50% outnumbered, worse than 50% outnumbered. This is almost 60% outnumbered. There's no circumstances ordinarily where you could win this, but let's see. In some ways, this is a little bit of testing for myself. I haven't tried this unbalanced of a battle, but 60% outnumbered here. All the units are on the battlefield, of course, and we'll see what they do here. I don't imagine they can win this. If they win this, you would have to say javelins are wildly OP, but we'll see. Part of it's the AI, right? They're just coming in. It looked like they're hurrying for a ferry, or they missed their commuter bus or something like that. No order at all. They look like the Urukai. Everybody jostling up and down. Absolutely no order. And the infantry's eating. The enemy infantry, that is eating our lines here. There's so many infantry here. Our forces can't handle it. So maybe that second battle, them winning so dramatically, was a bit of an aberration. Because here, more thoroughly outnumbered, they got they got pretty badly crushed. Now, I want to try this, right? I want to try a few more scenarios like this today. We'll take the wheel now from the Tesla. It didn't do as well in that third attempt as that second one. And we'll see. This might not be possible, right? You run out of javelins. There's a limit to what you can do. But I have some ideas, and we will use the RTS mod extensively as well, so you guys can see what's going on. Incidentally, I'm going to consistently recommend that formation for your infantry and archers. If you're just going to run 2 divisions, use that little V-shaped formation. That way those units are separate from each other. That way they can augment each other, right? There's a little crossfire angle in between there. Show you what I mean here. See how the infantry and the archers kind of make a V? I like to have about 30 yards from the edge of the units. That way these guys throwing javelins, they have kind of, it's almost like having 2 archer divisions, right? 30 to 50 meters in between the edges of them. I think that's optimal. However, I would recommend you put your infantry closer to the enemy, right? So if you have your infantry in a formation that's a little bit behind your archers will get shot and speared first, right? You want to avoid that. Now, all we're going to do here is try to get a really good angle on the enemy, and you have to be mindful of how units throw or shoot in Bannerlord. They do so from their right to their left. So you don't want to move your Jav Cavalin to this side over here, right? Because they can't throw across their body. Think of it like a quarterback rolling out of the pocket. They don't like to roll to their non-armed side because they have to throw kind of like behind their body. It's very awkward. Same thing with your Cavalry. You want to move these Jav Cavalry this direction towards your right. That way they can just fire in on the enemy. Now I'm zooming in here for the flags so you can see roughly where I put them. It almost intersects the infantry. In fact, some of these infantry may get hit with our cavalry. That's okay, because I'm hoping that these guys are firing javelins in here at a very close range, right? Very, very high accuracy, very high speed, because the units are moving forward. They should be throwing javelins right now. I don't know why they're not. It says fire at will. Throw your javelins. All right, here we go. And the javelins start to fly. And because the enemy's sort of torn between the infantry and the cavalry, they're not really sure who to attack, and they're getting sort of turned around. Now, let's make them spin even more. You could actually F1, F3 here and probably do okay because the enemy's in the center. But let's just move our cavalry around them, right? We're basically, think of where the edge of the enemy is. We're going to go perpendicular to that with our cavalry, and look at what happened. Look at what happened right here. This is great. Our archers are now behind the infantry, and it prevented them from attacking our archers. They're sort of chasing our cavalry, and I'm just going to keep rotating them. They're effectively chasing our cav. If you want to call this an exploit, I'm okay with that. It is what it is, right? You're fighting the AI. I think this is definitely all fair and game. They're trying to assess the biggest threat, and to the AI's credit here, they're trying to keep their little shields up, right? Those infantrymen are blocking shields, and we're just kind of making this hexagonal or whatever the hell shape that is around the enemy, right? And the whole time, they're dumping all of their javelins into this poor infantry. Now, we're out of javelins, they're really low, so I'm just going to show you what I would do at this stage from the ground level. I would just start moving these guys around, and we have to start carrying these guys around with us, basically moving them around. What I recommend in a situation like this is have them follow you. We'll charge that infantry division. We'll have them follow us, and then what we're going to do here is basically look for targets to run over. Pretend like you're a mad terrorist and you're just looking. Well, maybe that's very bad taste because that actually happens. We'll just pretend like we're playing a video game here and we're trying to run over the enemy for the FBI's on here. He's telling people how to kill crowds with cars. No, that's some horrific shit here. We will play our video game and stay out of the FBI spotlight. But here, perfect, right? There's a whole bunch of sharpshooters coming up. They're not brandishing their oh shit, now they are. We want to run these guys over while they're not shooting, right? So our guys come barreling through there, knocking them around. It looks like they scored kills too, right? And now we just want to keep this cavalry moving. As long as they're moving, they're way harder to kill unless they're being shot, right? When that's no longer the case. The enemy either expended their bolts or they've decided that they're just totally stupid today and aren't bothering. I'm not quite certain what happened here, actually. Of course, we were focused on other things. So everybody's charging now, and I think you could argue F1, F3 with one exception, right? Anytime the enemy has a bunch of units that are sort of all together, I recommend you pull all your cavalry right to where those guys are, have them hit them like a freight train, and then have them keep moving. And I think that'll be pretty effective. Now, sort of fighting here because I don't want to lose this. And we want to show winning examples today. But I think it's already a resounding success, right? This is outnumbered 60% by same quality troops. And we have one, right? Their crossbows routing. I can beat to death their little inept commander here. Cut them down! This stupid dipshit's got a bodyguard. I think they're routing. Yeah, they're routing. These guys are routing off the field. And there you go, Jav Cavalry. Right, so you could never do this with Imperial Elite Cataphract. And we just steamrolled, probably a quarter of our army left. Steamrolled a force that outnumbered us significantly in the game. And F1, F3 might have worked almost this well. Maybe not quite that well, but that was... There you go, Argyle. How's that for some Jav Cav? Now, we want to do some Sturgia. There's all kinds of players that struggle with the Sturgian units. So let me do let's see. We'll do this real quick, a little bit of editing, and we'll come up with some Sturgian tactics for you fellas. All right, so that's good there. We are recording. All right, so we're outnumbered here by 90, which means 20%, right? 455. You do a calculator over this. We're outnumbered by 20%. And the Sturgians have really strong cavalry in theory, right? They have these tier 5, tier 6 Drudzinic champions. Actually, you know what? Let's do an example here. Let's see. I just said the AI is probably better with javelins. This will be a really good example. One of these two battles, we'll do these quickly. We'll let the AI fight with the tier 5 and tier 6 Drudzinic, and then we'll switch them out and give them their tier 4 and tier 5 javelin throwers. In other words, we're trading out a tier 6 for a tier 4. There's no way the second example we should do better. But I have a hunch they will do better, right? And that just shows you both the limitations, or I guess you could say the ineptitude of spear cavalry, and the power of javelins in Bannerlord. Then there's no way that should be a thing, right? Well, this is kind of sad. That is their charge. They yelled, "For glory!" as they came in 2 miles an hour on their horse. They didn't score a single kill. They got stood up like bitches, and now they're getting steamrolled. So I can't give you guys details, but I will tell you this, that Taleworlds is actively adjusting cavalry. I've been told for a future update that there are going to be adjustments to spear cavalries. That's as close of a hint as I'll give you. Maybe I'll get in trouble for saying that. I could just tell you, though, that they are working on it. So it was a disaster. Let's see how they do here with Jav Cavalry. So again, exact same scenario here. And again, all we've done is switch out their tier 5 and tier 6 cavalry for tier 4 and tier 5. We should not have better results than that first battle, but how could we have worse results, right? They were absolute disaster. That battle, we got completely smashed. Now this is not good. They're forming the ring defense, but I will say something here. If you're going to form a ring defense, at least have a lot of cavalry, because then you could circle as the enemy attacks you. Also, there's only 60 archers in the ring. That's not that big a deal. I always grimace when there's 200 archers jammed in there because you're just wasting so much firepower. Now the enemy's slowly marching up to eat our little donut in the center, but look at the javelins are already scoring kills here at a distance. They're pelting the enemy. Let's see what they do here. This is actually good. The enemy charged the ring, and now our forces here are circling. This is actually, I don't think the AI really had this in mind. They're just sort of doing random code, but it's good, right? They're pelting the enemy in the back, and of course this is what we're going to try to emulate when we try this. Now the other Cav division is bothering me here. They're just kind of running back and forth like a very nervous sophomore thinking about asking that hot senior out. They have no chance. They need some confidence, and they never really have gotten active in this battle, and this battle's over now. But I dare say that was better. I didn't actually see the kill count, but I'm almost certain they did better than the Drudzinics. And they did work, right? They killed almost as many units as they got killed, right? So compared to the first battle, definitely better. Now let's see how we can do here. That was hardly conclusive, but I would say that Jav Cavalry are better. Let's see if we can win this battle. The AI can't. Let's show you guys again some basic tactics here. Try to slide along some tips along the way. And we're going to use 2 cavalry divisions here. Because the enemy has a lot of all their units, cavalry and stuff like that, we're going to protect that left wing with the shield wall. Those guys eventually can be used offensively, but initially let's just slow the enemy down. Now we've got some archers, infantry, and that protective line on the left. Pretty simple tactics here, right? We'll shield wall the infantry. Our archers here need better line of sight. See how they can't see there? We'll pull them a little closer. And we wait with this third corps, right? We're basically going to going to try to slide in again, just like that battle with the Aserai Jav Cav. Try to slide into the enemy's left, our right. Now I'm adjusting some units here because their cavalry's kind of trying to be sneaky over in the woods. And look at that rock, right? That rock is going to be usable. That's definitely going to be something we can hide behind. Our archers are kind of getting shot. Perfect. Look at this, right? There's a rock there. There's basically a perfect area for me to put my cavalry right into the midst of the enemy. I'm okay with that, right? Some of those guys will get killed. They'll get stabbed by a pikeman or something like that. But it also means that they're right there throwing javelins into the face of the enemy. Let's see how they do. They come up, fire at will, right? Here come the javelins. Bam, 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 bam. 20 guys die instantly. And now they have 3 or 4 more javelins to expend. Now, I can't remember if they have... let's see, let's hold the first. I can't remember if they have 3 or 5 or 4. I think they have 4. The Sturgian Jav Cav. The Aserai Vanguard Fairs, by the way, have Rites, so they have 5, which is deadly. And the best Jav Cav in the game? Beni Zilal. The Beni Zilal have 10 javelins. However, they have no shield. I wish they had a sword and a shield. They would be OP. All right, so here we go, right? Now our guys are getting behind, and I've also screened with the other, look at, that's beautiful. We can charge now with the 1st Division. The enemy's pinched. I'm also screening off the enemy with this 4th Division. I was talking about other shit. I've put these guys up here in a shield wall, and they're basically there to hold off the enemy archers. So now we have the rest of the enemy troops to ourselves. The archers, infantry, and Jav Cav are going crazy on them in there. And critically, the enemy archers have been basically nullified. And this battle's over. Look at the power bar. Look at the death spam. The enemy's being flattened here. We're outnumbered by 20%, and we smashed the enemy here. Let's get rid of their archers here. Just run them right up the line with the charge there. And there you go, Mr. Argyle. Hopefully, are you not entertained? Are you not taught some Bannerlord tactics? I just, brother. I appreciate the support all the time, Argyle. I know a lot of you guys by name, and I like that connection. Of course, I drop by the Discord sometimes, even though the community's grown. There's thousands of people that come by the channel every other day. I still like that connection with you fellas. And hard to get more dominating than that, right? My math is pretty good. That's a 3-to-1 fucking kill ratio. And the horse Jav Cav worked. I mean, they worked seriously here. We have more than half of our troops alive. We have 2/3 of our troops alive. As this Jav Cavalry division, outnumbered, smashed the Valandians into next week. Now let's do one more challenge for today's episode. Let me see. How do we want to do this? All right, let's try, what do we do here? I'm tempted to use more archers. I'll tell you what we're going to do. At the end here, we're going to do a mixed army of Sturgia. We're going to try to basically put it all together, but we're going to use archers, and we'll try an extreme challenge. Let's try being outnumbered by like 70%, 60%. So 600 something against 400. That'll be 50. That'll be about 55%, give or take. So a battle where obviously the AI is never going to win. We've got more archers than anything, but you guys know what I feel about that, right? We've talked about that at length. I still say it in episodes like this. In fact, we're attaching this to the end of a Jav Cav video. Even though we're going to use Jav Cavalry in this video, you know who's going to do the killing in this episode? Archers. If you're playing Sturgia, you're playing today. This, I think, I'm not going to say it's perfect, right? We're always improving our tactics, but I think what we can do here, at least making this battle close, and we may be able to win, is show you essentially optimal Sturgian tactics. Optimal army makeup too. So you can see 67 infantry, 150 cavalry, and 182 archers. What I would suggest is something like this for your campaign. And I would lean towards the Jav Cav, right? I would get some Judzinnik, right? They're good for siege defense, but and we'll try to use them defensively here. But I think for open field battles, your Jav Cav is far superior. And there are siege situations where they might be really useful too. Have a big line of them just dump in a whole bunch of javelins on the enemy vanguard. You don't think that's going to leave a dent? Now I got the 7th Division, that's Jav Cav, right? So we're still going to use them here. They're just not going to be, let's be honest, we know who's going to get the kills here, right? The 4th, 5th, and 6th. I like 3 archer divisions because I keep the 6th in reserve. The first 2 divisions are basically shooting from the get-go. Sturgia has a lot of ammo, but This is going to be kind of a slog. There's a lot of Valandians to kill in this battle. We have to be efficient. Now let's try a couple different approaches here. We've got two different lines of Druids. What I'm going to actually do is have one of them form a square on horse, and the other one will have them form a square on the ground. Before the enemy gets to them, we'll dismount them. A lot of guys like using Druids as infantry on the ground. I agree. Now that's a problem, right? If they're better off their horse, you could really argue that the unit needs to be adjusted. I mean, I guess theoretically, they're just a highly mobile infantryman, but I don't think that overcomes how weak they are on horse, right? I wish they were a lot stronger on horse. And again, the aforementioned changes Taleworlds is working on. I'm not at liberty to tell you guys details, but they are working on improving cavalry. All right. 63 over there. So we want to sort of keep an eye on the calves on the wing here. You still don't want your archers hit with the full charge, because even though cavalry's weak, they'll still score a bunch of kills on archers with weak armor. Now I've got two different squares, right? We've got a line of infantry, or excuse me, a line of cavalry over there. And what that does is it allows us to protect our Jav Cav. We now have a line basically preventing the enemy cavalry from attacking those guys, right? So it's a really nice way to use the Druids here. Over here, that square may be offensive at some point. For now, it's just going to hold that line behind the horses. It's going to be interesting to see how badly they get clumped up on the horses, too. This is a great use for horses. I'm sure Taleworlds did not intend it, but it works pretty well. All right, now we can have the 3rd Division firing away. Here they come. Let's see what happens. Let's pull this square side to side. I'll show you that more in a second. You didn't quite get to us there, did you, fellas? Devastating cavalry charge. I gotta say, boys. And that, of course, is just sort of exploiting AI that doesn't really understand that they can't charge through the dismounted horses. Some guys might say that's an exploit too. Use what you want. I'm not going to tell you guys what is an exploit. You guys choose. All right, now let's move this infantry away from us. We've been moving it side to side. Look at this huge Zerg. Let's move it away. And what that does is it turns all these guys back to our archers. We now have 200 and something archers just unloading right into the back of that packed rank of troops. The square is going to die, probably. But until then, what a great job it's doing, right? It's just allowing us to funnel all our arrows right into the back of those Valandians, and they're being skewered, right? Now, I'm going to borrow this 7th Division. They have one last job here, and that is to try to sort of absorb some of these cavalry charges and enemy archer shots, right? The enemy's shooting us with crossbow. I put that 7th out in front of a shield wall. We'll see how many of them even make it there. They're being mauled just trying to get there. But look at the death span, right? Our archers are working. And of course, it's not our Jav Cav that's killing. We'll look at the death spam at the end here. Maybe they'll get a 1.5 or 2-to-1 kill ratio, because they did get a good flank javelin spike there. Now I want to win this shit. They're rushing up with tons of sharpshooters. All right, let's do some strategy. Let's pull this division over here. These guys are off their horse into a line. We'll pull them back over here to our archers. Get them closer to us. Triangulate. Let's see if we can't. The archers are almost out of ammo, except to 6th, right? Because we held fire. Let's get these guys flanking on the enemy here. That way they can kind of collapse on the rest of the divisions. It'll also open up some lanes for those archers. And now F1, F3 is totally appropriate, right? All our units are in about as good a position as they can be. I'm going to fight a little bit here because I want to win this battle. I mean, we're badly outnumbered here. You're not supposed to win this battle, especially with no captains, no banners, no good equipment, just the custom battle menu. I can tell you, it took me months before I started having this kind of success with the custom battle. I recommend you guys try the custom battle too. Obviously, you can try any scenario virtually, right? You're limited. You can't have like good captains or whatever. But you want to fight in the swamp, you want a siege defense, you want a situation where you're in a village, you can do it all. With the custom battle, I highly recommend you guys, you tacticians, brush up with the custom battle menu. And this battle's over. How glorious is this? And we didn't just win; we throttled these bitch-ass Valandians. Their cavalry's kind of putting up a little fight at the end here, but this is glorious. All right, Mr. Argyle, the rest of you tacticians, you guys out there that are starting an Aserai campaign, a Battanian campaign, this would be effective, and of course. Sturgia, as we just showed you here. Now, not a great kill ratio. Our Jav Cav here is playing more defense. Of course, the archers, unbelievably OP. A 5-to-1 kill ratio, a 7-to-1 kill ratio for the ones that were higher up on the hill. You get the idea. All right, if you want to see more tactics, this is the place. Hit subscribe, that way you know when more episodes come out. I appreciate you fellas, and I will see you next time.